Final week of the NFL season sim. Here are your playoff scenarios. A lot of action. All four divisions are set in the AFC. The Pittsburgh Steelers undefeated at the moment, clinch a bye with the win. If they lose and the Bills win, they get that 1 seed. The Jets, Colts, and Browns all control their own destinies. They clinch a berth with the wins, and there you see the tiebreakers between those teams. Looking further down, the Texans and the Patriots are a game behind the Browns, Jets, and Colts. They have different scenarios if they win, but they'll need some help in getting in. The NFC is a little crazier. The Saints, they clinch a bye with a win, similar to the Pittsburgh situation. The Seahawks clinch a bye with a win and a Saints loss. Sunday Night Football last game is Vikings-Packers. The winner clinches the North. Vikings already locked into a playoff berth. The Packers eliminated with a loss. The Giants win the East with a win and a Cowboys loss. The Cowboys get it with a win. The Buccaneers clinch the 5 seed with a win. They are already in the playoffs, though. The Rams and 49ers play against each other. The winner of that game gets in only if Minnesota wins Sunday Night Football. But if the Packers win and the Giants win, both the Rams and Niners would be eliminated. First action in a 10-game 1 o'clock slate. Giants and the Eagles. Giants needing a win and a Cowboys loss to Washington to win the NFC East. Still have a path into the playoffs if they lose this game, though. Deshaun Jackson with some pre-halftime magic against the Giants. We've seen him do crazy things at MetLife Stadium before. A Hail Mary from Jalen Hurts, who got the start at quarterback. Carson Wentz injured last week. Alshon Jeffrey out. The Eagles eliminated from playoff contention, but looking to knock out their rivals, and they take a 10-6 lead here going into the break. Despite that, though, the Giants used a second-half surge and a great game from Daniel Jones to win 27-13 and clinch a playoff. Daniel Jones, a sensational game, 229 yards, 3 touchdowns. First career start for Jalen Hurts. Wasn't great, 225 yards and a touchdown, but 4 interceptions. In the running game, Saquon Barkley led the way. A huge day for him. A couple of fumbles, but 120 yards. And receiving-wise, Evan Engram, a favorite target of Daniel Jones, Golden Tate and Toilolo each had touchdowns. Over in Washington, the Cowboys and the football team battling it out. Alex Smith injured a concussion in the first quarter. He would leave the game after a scary hit and would be replaced with Kyle Allen as Washington looked to pull off the upset against the Cowboys, who are looking to clinch an NFC East. A 98-yard fumble recovery touchdown for Landon Collins in the second quarter. Dak Prescott loses the ball at the goal line. Collins takes it the rest of the way, and Washington takes a commanding 17-3 lead in the second quarter. And despite some attempts from Dak, the upset happens. The Washington football team wins just their 3rd game of the season, upsetting the Cowboys 23-6. This means Dallas is in the wild card. The Giants win the NFC East and clinch a home playoff game at MetLife Stadium. Kyle Allen did his job after replacing the injured Alex Smith, while Dak Prescott had 3 interceptions in the day. Ezekiel Elliott, 23 carries, 91 yards. A solid game for him, but for sure, also a fumble lost. Antonio Gibson and McKissick led the rushing attack for Washington. Michael Gallup had a big day, but for Dallas, not enough, and the Cowboys now have to play on the road in the wild card round. Shifting gears to the AFC in a monsoon in Miami, the Jets needing a win to move on and to make the playoffs. They still had a chance if they lost, but wanted to clinch it with a win. Tua Tagovailoa had other ideas. And much like Washington, the Dolphins play spoiler to a potential clinching party as Miami takes down the Jets 24-7 and leaves the Jets to worry about some other games on the docket. Neither quarterback was that great. The conditions were brutal. All 3 Florida teams with home games at 1 o'clock, none played in particularly good weather. 4 interceptions for Darnold, 3 for Tagovailoa. Jordan Howard, 94 yards on the ground. Frank Gore with 57 for the Jets. The Jets lost Le'Veon Bell early in this game as well to injury, so that'll be something to look out for if they do end up making the playoffs. And receiving-wise, each team at a 100-yard receiver. Crowder for New York, Parker for Miami. The Falcons looking to surprise the unbeaten Saints, who are looking to clinch the 1 seed. Sterling Hofrichter in at quarterback replaced Kurt Bankert, who left with an injury in the first quarter. The team was ready without Matt Ryan, and they had a halftime lead. Likely Defensive Player of the Year, Cam Jordan picks off Hofrichter, and the Saints have a huge second half, specifically a fourth quarter. They end up winning this one 32-30. Drew Brees had one of his most accurate games of the season. 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, and just 7 incompletions. Kurt Bankert, Hofrichter, neither that great. The Falcons will be happy next season when Matt Ryan is back and healthy from injury. Pro Bowler Todd Gurley, though, had a big game. Really carried the team. 119 yards to the Falcons. Hofrichter with 85 yards as a mobile quarterback and a score. Alvin Kamara had 20 carries for only 37 yards for New Orleans. Traquan Smith, 6 catches, 70 yards. Cook with 75. Thomas, 58. An all-around great day for the Saints offense. They finished the regular season a perfect 10-0 and will head into the NFC playoffs as the number 1 seed. The Carolina Panthers riddled with COVID, along with injuries to McCaffrey and Bridgewater. 8 players placed on the COVID list, including Robbie Anderson, Mike Davis, P.J. Walker. That's Trenton Cannon taking the handoff from Will Greer, and the Panthers with an effective first drive to get on the board. Despite the hot start, and overall a pretty solid game from Carolina, the Buccaneers' offense was just too strong. They get the win 39-22 and clinch the 5 seed. Bucks set to play either the Giants or Green Bay, depending on what happens in that NFC North title game. Tom Brady, 254 yards and 4 touchdowns. Despite the 3 picks, it was a solid game from Will Greer. And how about Reggie Bonifant? Threw the ball a little bit. They had him playing quarterback. He's one of their running backs. He was 8 for 8 with 113 yards before he left the game with him. Trenton Cannon and Bonifant had explosive days on the ground for Carolina, while a good job distributing things between T.J. Logan and Ronald Jones II for Tampa. Trenton Cannon had 10 catches for 141 yards as well, while a touchdown apiece through the air for Logan, Gronkowski, Johnson, and Mike Evans for the Bucks. Texans playing for the postseason, Jags playing for the 1 seed, and it really showed. Deshaun Watson was firing on all cylinders early in this game. Texans went up 2 scores just 7 minutes in. In the end, a 45-9 rout for Houston. The Jags now clinching the number 1 overall pick in the draft with the loss. Houston, meanwhile, by virtue of the Jets loss, are clinched into the postseason now. It's been a very up and down year. The loss on the Hail Mary to Carolina seemed like it would deflate them. Also, the choke of the 17-point lead against the Titans in Week 1. But Deshaun Watson throws for 5 touchdowns and 250 yards in a great offensive output from the Texans. With lots of injuries in the Jaguars' backfield, James Robinson had a standout game. The rookie, 21 carries for 88 yards, while David Johnson had 90 yards. The story receiving-wise, Will Fuller, 5 catches, 85 yards, 3 touchdowns from Watson, and the Texans win to clinch the playoff. Colts, another win in your in team. The Titans already clinched the AFC South, and Indianapolis here takes the lead on a touchdown pass from Phillip Rivers to give the Colts an 18-16. Jack Doyle then, the Colts driving, he fumbles, the Titans take over. A massive hit from Jonathan Joseph, and the Titans take possession late in the game. One more chance and another heartbreak. This one through the arms of Michael Pittman Jr. and picked off by Evans, and that would do it. The Titans win it 23-19 and crush the Colts. The loss outright eliminated Indianapolis, since the Texans had won already, and they were behind the 8 ball. Tiebreakers, losing tiebreakers to both the Jets and the Browns, so the Colts are out. Phillip Rivers in maybe his final season, 260 yards, touchdown, and a pick. Ryan Tannehill with a really great game for Tennessee Titans, heading into the postseason ready to pounce, with Derrick Henry, 21 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown leading the way on offense. Finally, Corey Davis with 60 yards. How about Adam Humphries, 107 and a touchdown, leading the way receiving-wise for the Titans. So Tennessee clinches a playoff spot, either the 3 or 4 seed, depending on what Kansas City could do in the 4 o'clock slate against the Ravens. The Bears did not get the number 1 overall pick. This team really seemed like they could have been a lot better than what it turned out, but a 24-20 win over the Lions. Their only 2 wins in the season come over Detroit, who finished 4-6 themselves. Mitchell Trubisky did his job, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Matt Stafford just a little behind. Both these teams just struggled to put things together, and having to play interconference matchups with the AFC North didn't really help, as you see David Montgomery led the way rushing-wise. And Kenny Golladay, 7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown, leading the way offensively. DeAndre Swift, the rookie, who had a nice standout season, had 42 receiving yards and a touchdown as well. Pittsburgh playing for the #1 seed, but Joe Burrow here takes it himself, the rookie, into the end zone for a touchdown. Not known as mobile guy or really a scrambler at all, but the Bengals take a double-digit lead on the Steelers at home. 4.5 to go, a toss play to Samaje Perine. The Bengals banged up. No Geno Atkins, no Joe Mixon. Lost both of them for the season. Carlos Dunlap out as well. But Cincy takes a lead with 4.5 minutes to go. It comes down. Final second. Randy Bullock from deep gives the Bengals a 40-38 lead. That's all they would need. And the Steelers' unbeaten season comes to an end. And now they had to hope the Bills would lose to secure a bye. Steelers on the brink of defeat many times this season, but it finally happens here. Can't really fault Ben Roethlisberger, though, who played out of his mind. 356 yards, 4 touchdowns, looking like a leading candidate for MVP this season, while Joe Burrow had 309 yards himself. It's the Bengals team, by the way, that lost 41-3 to the Steelers at Heinz Field back in Week 5. James Conner, 17 carries, 66 yards, led the way. Of course, like we said, the Bengals were without the services of Joe Mixon. Tyler Boyd exploded with 11 catches for 94 yards. Steelers' Deontay Johnson had 2 touchdown catches, while Trey Edmonds, the Pro Bowl tight end, came back from a 2-game stint out with injury, 5 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown in the first drive of the game. And just looking at how absurd this game was, the Steelers had a 17-0 lead at the end of the first quarter and looked to be running away with it. The Bengals responded with 24 second-quarter points, and then it was back and forth towards the end, and Pittsburgh just did not have enough at the end of this game. The Cleveland Browns did their job. The Browns are going back to the playoffs. They win at 30-20 over the Baltimore Ravens, whose disastrous season ends at 3-7. Many close losses for this team. Lamar Jackson got hurt in the second half, but had a pretty good game overall, 226 yards and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield did his job for Cleveland. Nick Chubb, 32 carries, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Austin Hooper, 6 catches, 63 yards, leading the way offensively. The Ravens had several injuries themselves, had lost Willie Snead already, lost Miles Boykin, Matthew Judon, and now we'll try to reset after what was a serious letdown of the season. But now to set up the 4 o'clock slate. So here's where things stood in the AFC wild card race. First of all, the Chiefs and the Titans, the Bills, the Steelers, all playing for positioning still in terms of seeding 1 through 4. All those slots were still up for grabs. Cleveland had now clinched the 5 seed. The Texans had clinched the 6 seed. And then the 7 seed would depend on what the Patriots did against Buffalo. If the Pats could win that game, they'd be in. If they lost, the Jets are into the playoffs. In the NFC, the Giants have clinched the NFC East, so they will have either the 3 or the 4 seed. The Saints clinched the 1 seed. Seahawks game now meaningless. Seattle is secured in the number 2 spot. Tampa Bay is 5. The winner of the 49ers-Rams game would stay alive to see Sunday Night Football and would be in if Minnesota wins. If Green Bay wins Sunday Night Football, then they get the 4 seed. The Giants go all the way up to a 3 seed, and both the 49ers and the Rams miss the playoffs, with the Bucks, the Cowboys, and the Vikings getting the 3 wildcard spots. There we go. Patrick Mahomes here and the Chiefs in Las Vegas, making the pass to Sammy Watkins. Now, Tyreek Hill had a huge catch to set this up, went 80 yards, and then would have hurt in this game, but the Chiefs celebrate and take the early lead. It was not a good game for the Chiefs, but they get the win 27-24. This clinches them the 3 seed, sets up a wild card weekend matchup with the Houston Texans, secures the Titans to be the 4 seed and play against the Cleveland Browns. But as you'll see in the stats, it was not a particularly good game for Kansas City. Yes, that's right. 5 interceptions for Patrick Mahomes. He did throw for 316 yards, but very inaccurate, a little too wild throughout the game. Derek Carr wasn't much better, had 24 incompletions, but Mahomes just not good for the Kansas City Chiefs. A team that has had some scares this season. The team that started 2-2. Yeah, they won their last 6 games, but still looking very vulnerable heading into the playoffs despite being the defending Super Bowl champs. Damian Williams led the way in the rushing attack. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, his workload was limited due to injury. He had missed Week 9. Josh Jacobs left with an injury in the first quarter for Vegas. Raiders finished the year at 3-7. Tyreek Hill, yeah, he had 122 yards, but suffered a sprained knee in the first quarter. All those yards came in the first quarter of this game, including an 80-yard completion. Left the game, did not return, and now his availability is in question heading into the playoff game against Houston. 14 games on Sunday had some sort of meaning in the playoffs. This is one of the two that didn't. Chargers and Broncos. Chargers had a promising season at the get-go, but didn't play well after. Hunter Henry, though, makes an absolutely spectacular catch. That is our play of the week, sponsored by Flex Seal. Hunter Henry to the pylon. See him hit the pylon camera, and it goes all over the place and go crazy. But Henry makes the grab. Justin Herbert, the rookie, gets them up 21. Chargers end up getting the win 35-7 to finish the year 4-6. The Broncos finish up at 3-7. Justin Herbert, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns. Drew Lock, 252 in a score for Denver. 157 yards from scrimmage on the ground from Austin Eckler, also a touchdown for him. Was just carving up that Broncos front set. 7 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown for Keenan Allen. Noah Fant had 65 yards and a score himself as the leading Denver receiver along with Portland Sutton. This was a scary moment for the Seahawks. First drive, down 7-0. Russell Wilson goes down and is clutching his ankle. Went down very awkwardly on a hard tackle. The Seahawks, remember, they were not playing for anything. The Saints won, so they were set as the number 2 seed. This game was essentially a stat pattern. And to see their franchise quarterback go down was not a good sign. Wilson would come back into the game and play through the first half and the beginning of the third quarter, then would come out. The Cardinals with a statement win. The Cardinals, another team that probably would have been better if they were not derailed by injuries. Kyler Murray missed 2 games. Kenyon Drake missed a few. Arizona, though, with their biggest performance of the year, they win at 47-19. Cardinals also lost all 4 of their out-of-conference games by double digits. Kyler Murray, his best game of the season, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson threw 3 picks, did not look the same after that injury. Came out, then played about 4 more drives after that. Then Geno Smith finished it out. Smith wasn't very good. But now, both the Seahawks and Chiefs, maybe 2 of the favorites in the playoffs, have superstars in question health-wise heading in to the wild card round, where the Seahawks will be as the 2 seed. They'll play the 7 seed, still to be determined. Could be Minnesota, could be the 49ers, could be the Rams, depending on what happens. Could also be the Cowboys as well if it comes down to points differential for the tiebreaker between Minnesota and Dallas if Green Bay wins the NFC North. Chase Edmonds ripped off a 61-yard touchdown and had 24 carries for 116 yards. DJ Dallas, the rookie, had 32 yards on 5 rush attempts for Seattle. Seahawks really rested their guys. Tyler Lockett only had 2 receptions. DK Metcalf 3. Christian Kirk with a big day for Arizona. 8 catches, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. Larry Fitz had 5 catches for 41. Unsure if he will be back next season. Got a big standing ovation from the Arizona fans. He came off on their last drive, so that could have been it for a legend in Larry Fitzgerald. Into the elements, Patriots and Bills. Bills playing for the 1 seed, Patriots for a playoff spot. Buffalo decided against attempting a field goal. They do a fake with Jake Fromm, but it gets swallowed up by the New England defense, and the Bills are held scoreless in their opening drive. 24-24 now. The Patriots have been down 24-3 in the third quarter, by the way. Benched Cam Newton, Jarrett Stidham in for them, but Josh Allen here, the handoff to Singletary, and the Bills take the lead with 33 seconds to go. And that would prove to be enough, a game-winning touchdown. The Bills nearly choke away a 21-point third quarter lead, but they get the win and clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC, so the playoffs will go through Buffalo. New England is out, so the Jets, their rivals, get in as the 7 seed and will face Pittsburgh in the wild card round. Josh Allen, 20 for 29, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him. Stidham came in and played a pretty good game. Not many pass attempts, though, for the Patriots, only 15 combined. Sony Michel, 16 carries, 82 yards and a touchdown, 81 yards for James White. How about Danny Vitale? The fullback for New England getting in on the action. 2 rushing touchdowns. First fullback with multiple touchdowns in a game since John Kuhn with the Packers back in 2010. New England did not have a single receiver over 27 yards, as John Brown led the way in targets for Buffalo with 7 and in yards with 66. Sunday Night Football will be uploaded separately, but let's show you what happened. 49ers and Rams. Niners running game is depleted. They lose Mostert last week. Tevin Coleman hurt on the first live drive of this game. That's Jerick McKinnon, who gets through for a long touchdown run to give the Niners a second quarter lead on the Rams. Remember, winner of this game stays playoff eligible, loser is out. Jared Goff with a sloppy game, a fumble. The big man takes it all the way for the touchdown, and the Niners take a commanding 38-10 lead in the third quarter on the road in LA. After a very promising start to the season, the Rams finished their NFC West slate a 1-5 divisional record and lose to the Niners 48-25. They're eliminated. The Niners stay alive and would be the 7th seed if Minnesota wins Sunday Night Football. Jared Goff threw the ball 55 times, had 2 picks, 301 yards. Jimmy Garoppolo had a really good game for the Niners. Jerick McKinnon thrust it into it, 92 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Darrell Henderson Jr. had a good running game for them. And finally, you see receiving yards, nearly a triple-digit day for Cooper Kupp. Mohamed Sanu with 133 yards and 2 scores for the Niners. So here's how we look heading into Sunday Night Football. The AFC is all set. Buffalo is the 1 seed. The wildcard games will be the 2nd-seeded Steelers hosting the number 7 Jets, the 3rd-seeded Chiefs hosting the number 6 Texans, and the Browns and the Titans facing off Tennessee, the host team. The NFC, the Saints are the number 1 seed. The 2nd seed is Seattle, and the 5 seed is Tampa Bay. Those are all set. Those won't be changing. What can change is 3, 4, 6, and 7. If the Packers, let's first do if the Vikings win. If the Vikings win, they will be the 3 seed. Giants will be 4. That'll put the Cowboys at 6 and San Francisco at 7. But if Green Bay wins, the Packers can't get in as a wild card team, but they can still win the North. The Vikings are locked into the playoffs, though, so what happens there? If Green Bay wins, the Giants get the 3 seed, the Packers are 4, Cowboys and Vikings either 6 or 7, depending on points differential. So that's how it all sets up right now, and we'll have a separate video to show you as much coverage as we can of that big Sunday Night Football game for the NFC North crown.